And I'm going to go ahead and tweet. And we're up. So, last time on our all monk adventure, our 5 intrepid young monks have survived their first day of 10,000 fists, an extra dimensional challenge which summons fighters from across the realm once every 10 years. They succeeded in multiple rounds of challenges, defeating foes, watching them crumble to ash, which we'll find out more about here in a moment. You all survived somewhat narrowly sometimes, but you have left with a variety of goods and treasures, and quite a bit more was added once you emerged from the portal. So we're actually going to pick up right at that moment. So the 5 of you have emerged from the portal, and you are once again standing in the 10-year city. This sort of like evolved tent town that springs up around the site of this portal. There is a massive crowd waiting. You can see that there are representatives of all sorts of different sects and organizations. Some of the more prominent, like merchants and traders, have come out to observe, sort of leaving their stands in the hands of attendants. And as you sort of glance left and right, portals are flickering open like in a huge area around you. And from each one, you see more people walking out. And you notice that like this is everyone who went in. So you're seeing like older, more experienced fighters coming out. You're seeing other fighters who are maybe in the same sort of bracket as you, but were in a different area of competition.
So we're seeing the dead fighters coming out of the portals,
No.
or oh,
Distinctly, you are not. You are seeing other competitors who won their respective challenges.
right.
So we
So,
saw we saw how busy the place was when we went in. Roughly what proportion of the people are coming out?
uh, I would say roughly 2/3.
So only 1/3 is missing.
Yes. You everybody give me an intelligence check. Hopefully your D&D Beyond rollers will work well enough for this.
Maybe.
I got a nat 20 with my -1.
Awesome.
Did my roll show up anywhere?
If you go to D&D Beyond, there's a spot between where it tells you the campaign and that little like anvil logo for the builder. In between is the game log, and it will show you everyone's rolls.
Ah.
So
Mine
even
did
though
not show up.
you might have to temporarily turn off Beyond 20. Sometimes it really aggressively intercepts rolls. I don't know why. Or you might just have to change something where it says roll to both. So I'm actually going to say, so Snicked got this on a nat 20. And the silence, you actually recognize this for a different reason. You were able to mind knife one of the shadowy creatures you were fighting. And what you discovered was the being that you interpreted as this sort of shadowy creature might actually have been a fighter from a differently attuned dimension. You caught glimpses of another world that seemed to flicker in and out of shadow as you tried to sort of see it. So probably there are more winners than what you're seeing here, and there are more losers than just the difference between who came in and who came out. You get the impression that this is perhaps happening in similar locations across a vast multiversal space. Yep, there comes Show's roll. So Show, you recognize this as well. And each person who emerges, there is a like glowing sort of manifestation and some kind of treasure appears before them. For some people, it's different than others. Some people walk out and there is, I think some of you got a literal sort of treasure chest. Some of you just had like a little ring fall into your hand that glowed for a moment. You see what looks like maybe like grand masters who walk out and all that's delivered into their hand is like a simple like handwritten book, but they look at it like it's the most valuable thing ever. So all of this is happening all around. There is cheering and clapping, especially from sects that you can see them looking across this array of winners. And you can see that they are trying to see who made it. So 3 of you are from sort of like more formally established sects. So Lilifear, you see a handful of Falling Star, sort of like mid-level, like middle management almost. They're not like senior disciples, but they're not like, low-tier schmucks either. And they are, they have spotted you and they are clapping and cheering. I'll let you decide if you know any of them. It's a large enough group that you might just sort of know them by sight. And if not, you can tell me sort of who they are.
I'd say they're ones that I probably don't know well. Like, I recognize them. Like, I've seen them around, but I don't know anything about them or whatever.
You recognize them by reputation.
Yes.
Other side of the dining hall kind of vibe.
Yes.
So the silence, you see a group of Razor Mind monks standing nearby who are kind of giving you like polite golf clap, but you can see that each of them has a glowing purple crystal, and they're sort of in different shapes, but they're all sort of like slowly orbiting around them in different patterns. And through the telepathic bond of these crystals, you can feel their encouragement and affirmation sort of being projected to you silently. Show, you only see a handful, it's like maybe only 2 Iron Body clan mercenaries, but they are less reserved than some of the others, and they're full-blown like, woo! Like clapping and cheering.
Love it.
They seem to like turn to each other and like maybe offer like a toast in your honor and sort of slam cups of ale together and then throw it back.
Would I recognize the people? Do they recognize me, or do I just have the symbols on me and they're excited because they recognize me as one of their own?
You're the living training dummy. Everyone knows you.
Fair.
You don't blend. It's up to you whether you know them or not.
I think probably not.
Or probably do, because they beat you up all the time.
Well, maybe, yeah. I mean, how many different like places do we have? Like monasteries would the Iron Clan have?
So there is one sort of central. Let's call it what it is. It's a fort. It is like an isolated mountain fort that is like the main headquarters. Everyone passes through there pretty frequently. Like, it's where new people are trained. It's where people sort of rotate back to for like rest and recuperation. But you also know there are other smaller forts scattered around.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna go with no still. I traveled here alone, so I doubt that I would have traveled with people I knew. I may have seen them around, but I don't think that I would know them.
So I think in that case, we could say that these are probably you all are in the Golden Plains region. These are probably mercenaries who were serving maybe just as guards or something in this area. And they heard that not only did a newbie participate, but it was the training dummy that they've heard so much about. So they seem. Give me an insight check.
Did that come through?
I always do that. I go to take a drink and then I'm not looking when it comes through. Yes, insight 15. Very nice. You recognize like there is a genuine respect that you have rarely received. You are well known, and while there's a handful of Iron Body Clan folks who don't necessarily like you or have concerns about you, a lot of them kind of treat you like a mascot, which is a lot different than respecting you as a fighter. And you're seeing
Yeah.
maybe genuine respect from someone other than like your direct associates, maybe for the first time.
I mm, um Show sees them cheering me on or celebrating, I guess, and uh I'd kind of look around and make sure that they're directing that towards me just out of surprise.
Yeah, that moment of like looking behind you to be like, wait, who are they waving to? Oh, that's me?
Exactly.
I
Uh,
assume it's me.
Which is a good segue. Snicked, give me a perception check.
Man, why couldn't that be the 20? That was an
Whew.
11.
You don't catch this, but from our sort of omniscient narrator point of view, we see a very sort of dirty and bedraggled figure in the back. You would know that, you would all know, there are information gathering networks of essentially like beggars and sort of lower ranked people in society. And some of them are quite powerful. A lot of them serve important roles in like information gathering. It's not surprising to see someone like that sort of here. But from our sort of omniscient narrator point of view, this person sort of like watches you for a second and then just sort of smirks. And as they walk away, we see their eyes sort of flicker with light for a second. And when they sort of step just out of sight, they flash and vanish. And finally, Ty. Ty, we have not established a whole lot about your actual situation here. We did decide, I think, that you have kind of an unusual extra layer of your background. Isn't that what we were talking about? There's
Yeah.
So, is there someone you recognize from the flowing river, or is there someone you recognize from perhaps things that have not happened yet? I'll let you
So, as
decide
of
who
right
those people
now,
are.
it's vague memories, but I swear I recognize one of those demon cult guys. The demon, not the one that that got messed up by the cart, but there's like a different one. He's kind of chilling off in the back, and I kind of recognize him. I'm like, never met him yet. I feel like his mask, and then just like kind of the energy he puts out is the guy I remember him clearly from the future.
Yeah, you have this moment where that sort of inexplicable grasp that you have of time, you feel it as a flowing river, and for a second, a placid, sort of crystalline surface of the river ripples, and in the ripple, you see something about this.
Dramatic moment.
The river was diverted.
There, yeah, no, we're getting an
At
alternate
least I
universe
caught that
Golden.
was happening.
Yeah.
The river was nuked; it just disappeared.
He died.
So you see this ripple, and you see that you see this person in the ripple for just a moment, and you know that you have glimpsed something that will come down the way. All right, I think that's everyone. So the stuff in front of you, you all got so much crap. We will start. We're going to start with Lilifear. Lilifear, you were, I believe, the first person through the portal.
That's right, I was.
You find a tiny, sort of plain metal ring lands in your hands, and it's glowing slightly. Unlike the rings that other people have found on defeated enemies, this ring is unlocked. And you can sense that inside of this ring is 10,000 gold. It is almost filled to the brim with it. You also see a very fine cloak that seems like it is already sized for your smaller body. And it's made of this sort of light material. It's not just like a straight like back and down. It's almost like it has been artistically shaped to leave room for your sort of fey wings.
Huh.
You also find a pair of matching bracers. They're not massive. They're almost more like bracelets.
The handle.
Yeah, no, yeah, those bracers, they were powerful.
You killing me, Discord. You killing me. Why? I genuinely don't know.
Just bizarre things happening.
Yeah.
Oh, we lost seconds.
I have turned off all the things there are to turn off. Not sure what the deal is.
Have you tried restarting your computer?
I have not, but that's going to be like a full delay. We'll save that for a pee break. So Lilifear, you won't know this right now, but we'll sort of flash forward a little bit. You find that you have found. Inside the ring. You find bracers of defense and a cloak of elven kind.
Yes.
Bracers of defense are going to raise your AC by 2, and cloak of elven kind improves your stealth.
Nice.
They are both attunement. Snicked, you were next out the door.
Yes, I was.
8,000 gold. There are 2 books and a shiny bladed weapon. Mechanically, it's a sickle +1, but I'll let you decide kind of what it looks like, the style of it.
I give it a little bite.
Always taste it.
Also, you find 2 books. Kind of plain looking books. I'm going to drop these in your backpack.
Oh, do I have to add the bracers and the cloak?
Yes,
or...
but they're all already in there.
You mean they're in the compendium or whatever?
Yeah. I should have standardized this and either done all of them or none of them. But anyway, also, Lilifear, your ring is a storage ring grade 1. And I can send this stuff to you all afterwards, but...
Oh, okay.
Snicked, you have gotten technique manuals for water walk, which is a sort of low-level movement technique. If you master it, you can run across the surface of liquids. But if you stop on them, you will sink.
Did I just become a basilisk lizard?
I did think of who would be the funniest person to give it to, and that might have helped the thought process. You also find a technique in just sort of like a plain journal, like someone has scribbled some notes, and it's for a technique that's called straight punch. You have advantage on your first attack roll against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in combat yet. And when you roll initiative, you can spend 1 key point to roll your martial arts die and add the result to your initiative roll.
Awesome.
And you'll have plenty of time to learn those. The Silence, 6,000 gold.
Woo woo.
And then also, you also have 2 more. You have 2 books, but you're surprised to discover these books are in the style of like manuals created by the Way of the Razor Mind. You don't know how. You don't know where these prizes are coming from, but this would be unusual. Like sects and temples and schools of magic and all sorts of places. If people start like spreading their techniques, these places go after them hard. So you're not sure like who had this to give it to you, but it's yours now. And you also got a storage ring grade 1. And your 2 techniques are Barbed Mind, which lets you mind knife anyone who tries to read your mind. If they try to read your mind or find you magically, you can mind knife them no matter where they are.
I love that. That's great.
There's also the Strength of Mind technique, which lets you cast Mage Hand, but with additional strength if you spend key points on it. So it can lift more than 10 pounds. Show, you got 5,000 gold, a grade 1 storage ring, and your storage ring only has 1 item in it. But give me a history check. I almost did it again. I will look to see what you roll.
Just a 7.
So you got no idea what this is. As you pull out this very plain-looking quarterstaff. There's a couple of places that have been sort of tightly wrapped in sort of a faded cloth. Places where you might like grip it when you're fighting. You do notice that as soon as you pull this out, the Iron Body people who are watching you are like immediately curious. There is something about this worn quarterstaff that draws their attention, even at a distance.
Oh.
Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, in the last session, didn't I also get a spear of some kind?
Spear.
from the tree that died, and I went and explored it.
Well, that's a great question. I know you got its core.
But maybe that's all I was. I thought for whatever reason I had a spear, but that might be it.
I'll say I will go back and double check. I am dropping the updated wood spiritual beast core in your inventory.
Cool.
Mechanically, this is a +1 quarterstaff. But it also applies to your unarmed strikes. Also, when you score a critical hit with it, you can use Flurry of Blows for free before the end of your next turn.
Would I be able to use Flurry of Blows as a reaction or something, or does it
No,
have
so
to?
before the end of your next turn, you don't have to spend the key point for it.
Right. So it just means immediately, though.
Before the end of your next turn. So it's this turn or the next turn.
Yeah. Good point. But I might not hit next turn.
That is true. But because it's a weapon attack, you know that it's not already a flurry attack or a bonus action attack. So it can't be wasted unless you've already used your bonus action.
Yeah. Should I add a +1 quarterstaff or?
I dropped it in. It's called the Tiger Slaying Stick. You just don't know why it's significant.
Gotcha.
And finally, Ty. Ty, you found 5,000 gold. Yours came in a chest because you already have a nice ring.
Yeah.
And you find 2 books. These both look like they have been sort of handwritten and roughly bound by like an individual. They don't look like the product of like a library or something with more refined technique. But the two manuals, one technique is called reversion. If you learn it, you can basically fiddle around with the flow of time and allow someone to spend hit dice like they had just taken a short rest as an action instead. And if you get better at it and find the additional pieces, it gets more powerful. Your other technique is called Echoes of the Future. You can make history checks on things you don't know. Because you might know them later. You also find a dagger, which I will also drop in your inventory. The dagger is called the Arrow of Time. It's a +1 dagger, and once per day, you can let it loose and throw it at someone within 100 feet. And if they fail their saving throw, they take 6d6 force damage and have disadvantage on their next attack roll, ability check, or saving throw. All right. You also have a crap ton of demonic cult stuff. You were the one who stopped to loot the Black Flame demon cult person's body. We'll circle back to what you found. So, who wants to go ahead and start off their interlude first? Maybe instead of saying want to, I should say who knows what they want to do, or at least start doing.
I can go. We discussed it kind of briefly in text.
All right. Yeah. So show. We're in sort of montage territory here. There will potentially be like conflict, but conflict will be resolved through sort of broad dice rolls if we need to, and not so much like throw it on a map turn by turn.
Yeah, that's fine. And my whole thing was pretty broad in general, so I don't suspect there should be too terribly many twists or curves.
So the first thing that show is going to notice, we mentioned that everyone there's this crowd waiting for people to come out. You see cheering and clapping, and people are just so excited, like, oh, so and so, look at all the glory they're bringing to our group. Or you see family members who are like, oh, thank goodness they're safe. You see merchants who are like, like looking all that gold. But something catches your attention. Not everyone is thrilled. And in fact, you see several clusters of people who look wrecked, completely emotionally devastated. You see that there are the two children that you rescued from that blonde-haired young man. They are just openly weeping, even with all this treasure in front of them. And
I'm gonna walk over to them and congratulate them. Hey guys, great game, fantastic. Um, do you know any idea where the people we defeated are congregating? I'd like to congratulate them on battles well fought.
cool, the temperature of the air around you goes frigid. Like anyone who could hear you went like silent. And even the kids are like sobbing and looking at you with such confusion.
I would 100% return that confusion after noticing every what's wrong. Like, guys, game's over. Uh, I just want to say, well played.
One of the kids looks up and is just like, "What is? What's wrong with you?"
What's wrong with you? It was fun. Good job, guys. We made it out. We're all winners here. But the people who lost, I want to say, you know, well fought and better luck next time.
While this exchange is happening, there's two details that are very relevant. One of these kids has like two short daggers like tucked into a belt. Another one has a slightly longer blade in a sheath, but they're also holding what looks like a broken weapon. And you see a couple of people, they're not really wearing like colorful like institution or organization robes, but you can immediately clock that they look related. They have similar sort of complexions, hair colors, faces, and there's like 7 or 8 of them. You see a couple of older people, and then what looks like maybe like couples, and no, I guess there's like 4 or 5, and two of one of these couples runs over, and embraces these two kids. And you just catch little bits of like, oh, I'm just so glad you're safe. You made it back. Things to that tune. Are you okay? And the kids are just sobbing, and you get the impression that this is maybe their parents. It looks like these two are twins. But you see another woman who is taking these like faltering steps forward, and you hear her whispering a name. She says, "Offie? Offie?" And she's like looking like behind the kids, like, and sort of like looking through the crowd. And one of the kids sort of detaches from their parents and turns, and she sees the broken sword. And she just collapses. Just full sobbing and crying. And you can even see that in the midst of this wave of emotion is causing ripples of physical transformation. As she sobs, like you see like the edges of her face, these metallic scales sort of ripple and then fade, and it runs down her arms, and you can see she blinks tears, and for a second you see slitted serpentine eyes. And she is just sobbing and crying. And the rest of the family, this group seems to walk over, and this older figure puts a hand on her back and leans down and is whispering something to her. And she's still just sobbing, but it's very like choked and quiet now. Did you finish your discernment technique?
Oh,
Okay. Yeah, so what does show do?
can I roll insight or something to see if I recognize what this indicates?
Yes, and I'm going to leave it to you. Do you roll this with disadvantage or not?
Um, I don't know. Show knows what death is, being around mercenaries and everything, but he doesn't really understand family dynamics yet. Um, I'm gonna say probably just a regular roll because I'm not a complete moron.
That's
I'm
why I was
just
leaving it up to you.
yeah. Oh, I'm naive and good natured, at least at the moment. That might be changing very quickly, but I'm not a complete and total moron. I don't think.
All right. Then give me a flat insight check.
Um, yeah. Show's about to die, so I'm going to I'm going to go up sort of cautiously. I mean, they're very clearly upset, and I'm going to say, guys, I know it's terrible. It's terrible to lose, and we should always strive for to win. But there's always next time. It'll be okay.
Give me a dexterity saving throw with disadvantage.
Oh no. Oh no.
Knock
I got
his
a
block off.
10.
So,
Hmm.
in a flash, this sobbing woman is holding like one of the biggest swords you have ever seen, and she is swinging it at you with murderous intent. she is going to destroy you.
Yeah, makes sense.
In the time it takes you to realize what's about to happen, this old man flickers. And suddenly he is between the two of you, and he is catching this sword with his bare hand. I just had to give a copyrighted music warning to the mammals in my house. So he catches the sword with one hand, and his other hand has gone like silver and scaled, and has smacked you open palm in the chest. Even though it's open palm, you feel the cutting power behind this hand. All of your iron body techniques instinctively flow to that one spot and save your life as you reduce this damage just enough, and this guy blasts you back through this crowd with just an open palm touch. And you fly back like 30 feet. You like fully take out someone else. Like, not dead, but just totally bowl them over because you are a giant wooden weight flying through the air. You're a log trap.
Yeah.
You can see you now have. It's almost like someone has cut you in the shape of a hand on your chest. And it has left like grooves into the impossibly hard wood that you're made of. And there's a lot of like, folks are like kind of doing like the side eye thing, and like they're being like, not my business, not my business. And there is a rapidly clearing space around you and around this sobbing family. I would say at this point, you don't need to roll another insight check.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think I get it now.
Yep.
Um, I'm gonna. The show would basically just kind of sit there, or lay there, or however it is I ended up, and staring at the family. Just I don't know if going into shock is the right word, but just the realization of what just happened. Not getting hit, but the games we like. Those people died, and I I killed some of them, and I don't know if those people deserved to die, and that's that's gonna hit me really hard. Like the weight of what I just did for ma- material gain, like that. It. I don't know why we just did that, and I'm going to basically sit there shocked for quite some time. Um, if that family goes to leave, I will attempt to eke out an apology, but I don't know if I would try to do it very loudly. Like I realize that I have just I'm now realizing that it seemed like I was not making fun of, but agitating, like that I did not give their fallen heroes the respect they deserve, and that so I'll eke out an apology, but I won't. I will do. I won't go out of my way to do it because I don't want to bother them more.
I think in this moment it hits you. I'll have to double check my math. You all killed 19 or 20 humanoids over the course of this first
Yeah,
day of 10,000 Fists.
yeah, we killed a lot, and I directly did at least one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, I don't know if we killed anyone in the first game. We just won, and then they were killed off because they lost.
I think at least one of them died before that. But
Yeah,
at
I
the end
do.
of the
I do.
round,
I think.
Go
I
ahead.
think I was the one who actually. No, I don't think I gave him the finishing blow. Maybe I did. Maybe it was me who finished him off. I nudged Snake and I go, "Hey, you remember that time we knocked a guy out and you decided to slit his throat?"
Okay, but that one deserved it.
I mean, a lot of them deserved it. Okay, obviously they were our opponents, but
We were just surviving.
God,
They would have killed us if we hadn't.
like they put us on trial for murder and give us a death sentence. Like we just became serial killers.
If I hear
All
this
the
conversation, I am going into a deeper existential crisis.
I think you're still far away right now.
I think he loved to show off his killing styles and just
Yeah.
You all
just
smell
most
wood
brutal
smoke.
of all of us.
You're smelling wood smoke as Show's brain is like melting down.
It's like steaming.
Yeah.
It smells like a really good like wood, like wood burning, like
Right.
slow barbecue kind of vibe.
Yes.
Look, I don't know if I actually regret killing the jerk who was bullying the kids. Like, he
Well,
was making them suffer, and he's kind of a jerk. I don't know how he'd end up in 10 years' time in the future, but he kind of earned it.
put a pin in him. We'll be back to that.
Yeah, because I have his
For
robes. I have a
sure.
lot of stuff. I
Right.
probably shouldn't have.
Which are the things we looted from them.
Yeah, I have his robes. I have the
We don't want
demon
to
stuff as
copies.
well. Okay, let's put it this way: I collected the wrong stuff and the right stuff, though.
We're gonna sort of spin the montage out for a second. All of you see there are several very well dressed, blonde haired people at the front of a very large group. One of the largest groups here, actually.
Garians.
You see that there are. The people behind them look less like martial artists and more like soldiers. They're wearing like armor. They have sort of standardized equipment. You see a couple of those black armored guards, and you see them all sort of like scanning the crowd. Everybody, give me an insight check.
Well, hey, Dirty 20.
Roll.
All right. Yeah, so Snicked, it's good that you catch this. The guy in front looks like a slightly older, like maybe like 10 years older version of the guy whose throat you slit.
I intentionally do not see.
Well, and also to say, like, they are starting to put some things together, and you all see guards starting to sort of like spread out in a way that suggests that maybe they are going to ask questions before people are allowed to leave.
How aggressively do they look like they're going to ask these questions?
That not frowned upon?
Yes, but our viewers might remember this is the Saris family. This is the ruling family of this region. They're sort of like hereditary governors. Unless there is like someone from the imperial family here, these are the highest ranking people by a long shot. But
I'm going to put on
takes
my
a
best.
minute. Go ahead.
I'm going to put on my best innocent child face.
So yeah, we'll revisit this for each of you. Show, uh, what happens next? You can give me short term, long term, like spool it out.
Uh, yeah. Regardless of whatever happens with that situation, uh, show probably wouldn't even register it. Um, I I would, if I'm asked questions, I wouldn't indicate anybody in the party or anyone in general. It would go over my head. At this point, not like I'm still concentrating on my morality, like in what I've done, like that. But ultimately, oh, who did we lose? Oh, there we go. Anyway, ultimately, at this point I would make my way back to the ironclad fort, Iron Clan fort, um, where I would first seek out the advice or knowledge, wisdom of my mentor, um, asking him first and foremost, how do you know when it's okay to kill?
And your master is Barthune, right?
Yes, thank you. I could not for the life of me remember his name, and I did not pull up the PDF to look it up.
So I think to get you sort of out of this situation, seeing that things are starting to go a little bit south, the other Iron Body clan members who were there go and sort of retrieve you, and they flash their emblems to the guards and are able to sort of pass through on the name of the Iron Body clan. So they kind of escort you back in this sort of dazed state. So you make it back to the headquarters of the Iron Body clan, which is a good haul. The Iron Body clan is up in the Barrier Peaks. This is like the western edge of the realm, and the Golden Plains are towards the center. So this is a pretty long journey. So you make your way up to the headquarters. It's high up on this snowy peak. It's pretty frigid year round, but a lot of the buildings are sort of nicely insulated. There's a surprising amount of comfort for what looks like a military fort. The working mercenaries and older people, elders, senior disciples, all have like really nice accommodations because that's where they live. So you make it back. You seek out Barthune, known to most as Iron Arm Barthune. You can tell that your master has recently shaved his head again. There's no bristle at all, just the fiery red beard coming down off the chin. You are not surprised when you find him working in a forge. Even though he only uses weapons when it's called for. Most things that he can solve with his eponymous iron arms. But he is hammering away at something. And you can even see he has had his scars worked into a kind of spiritually infused runes. And they glimmer with this like silver and orange as he hammers away, almost like the fire is sort of like racing up through these scarred tattoos. What do you want to ask him?
Yeah, I would. First, I would ask him if he knew that people died. And then I would ask him, how do you, as a mercenary, how do you determine who deserves to live and who deserves to die?
It's hard to tell because Barthune is sort of a reserved figure, and he keeps hammering away for a second, almost to the point where you wonder if like he didn't hear you. And then he seems to get his project to some sort of stopping point, and sort of correctly puts everything away, and it's sort of steps away, cleaning his hands on some very dirty towel or rag or something, and he says, "To be honest, Show, that's one of the hardest questions. We practice our arts to be able to use them to serve people. We take requests, we take commissions, we're paid for our work, and sometimes that work includes violence. But we always try to be aware of what we're signing up for. Maybe the monastics are right. Maybe there is no good reason to ever hurt or kill someone. But we live in a world with the demon cult and bandits and the armies of other realms pressing in at our borders. Each of us has to work out for ourselves the sacrifices that we are willing to make to hold it all together. I'm guessing that maybe things happened during the event, right?
I killed people, but I thought they were just being removed from the game. I didn't realize they were dying. And now I don't know if I did the right thing. And I know that our clan, we take in bad people, people that others might say need to die. But we don't kill them. We accept them. Except when we don't. And what's the difference between one bandit and another? Why does one deserve to die and another is accepted into our clan?
To be honest, it's not always fair. If a young warrior comes to us and says, I want to be a part of what you're doing, we make space for them as best we can. If they can learn the techniques, if they can learn what it means to be part of the clan, then they're always welcome. But maybe that same young warrior, if they're met on the battlefield, will find themselves on the wrong end of an iron palm. Some folks think there is a grand bureaucracy, an ordering
Say
of
when you say find themselves on the other end of an iron palm, I would touch my chest where the handprint has been left.
And you would know it's been probably a couple months. Like I said, that's a long journey. It has only started to heal a little. You get the impression that this is going to be a deep scar.
Yeah, Show is okay with that if it never heals. Like he feels like this is something he deserves and should live with. But with that, the conversation would placate Show at least for a while. It gives me a lot to think on, and I would continue about my normal duties as whatever that is in the Iron Clan for me. Um, Helping out with missions, training, whatever it is that is now required of me. But that wouldn't last for the whole decade. I would imagine that after a year or two, I'm. Are you back, Colby?
Hello?
Yep. So after a decade
Are
or
you back?
two,
What did you hear through?
after a decade or two, dot dot dot.
Oh, no, not after a decade. It wouldn't last for a decade.
Okay.
But after a year or
Year or two.
two,
There we go.
these morality questions would still be eating away at me. I would feel much better about it, but I still crave answers. I want to know more. So I would take my leave from the fort, seeking out others, uh, maybe other mercenaries in the Iron Palm or in the Iron Clan. Maybe uh, monks or wise people from all over the world. Anyone I've heard about who might have any idea or any say on morality, I would want to talk to them.
So I think very intentionally, Barthune didn't give you hard answers. Nothing to like lock onto. Really, just sort of giving you language to ask the questions. You have a couple, maybe only like 8 weeks or so back in the fort. You are you've upgraded from like mascot to like everybody's kid brother. Like everybody's like, we're so proud of you. You really represented the clan so well. They're telling stories about the what would be a nickname that Show would start to develop.
Being put on the spot for names.
It doesn't have to be permanent, but just like
Yeah, I don't know. Uh, Wooden Wonder.
yeah. So they would say, stories of the Wooden Wonder, the the strange being that conquered the Day of 10,000 Fists are spreading everywhere. We're hearing about it from all the people in the field. Folks are sparring with you, and you can tell you've gotten better. And folks are actually eager to learn from you. The real like younger disciples, and even some of the ones who are sort of at the same level. You have sort of peer relationships with, but that doesn't last long. You eventually express these questions, this need to go to Barthune, and Barthune sends you off, and the sort of itinerary he gives you just looks like missions. It's like go here and work alongside this group doing this, then go join this group of mercenaries going here to do this. But you realize that this, and you get updates through the communication network occasionally, like message drop offs and carriers and things. You realize you're being sort of sent on a almost like a guided meditation. You're sent to serve alongside this really brutal Iron Body Clan mercenary. He's like a captain. He's very highly ranked. He runs one of the forts. And he's a halfling. But he is the scariest halfling you have ever encountered.
Love it.
Mechanically, probably mixes his iron body levels with like
Mechanically, he re-rolls ones and twos.
well, like berserker barbarian, like goes into a rage, is almost unstoppable in battle, just carves people up. But the mission you're sent on with him, you're sent to clear out a group of bandits. How would Sho feel about that?
Pretty neutral. After my chat with Barthune, I know that these things need to be done. I would definitely go and help clear out the bandits. But if it was ever to me to do a finishing blow, I wouldn't kill them. I would knock them out and let them either be tied up or let someone else make the decision.
So, I think this is what you think that you're going to do. So you broach this topic. This captain is called Barak. You bring up some of these questions, and he sort of expresses this philosophy of like, these are bad people. They suck. They hurt people. We kill them. Very just like cut and dry, very flat. And you approach this mission with this mindset. And you're tracking them. There's a local guide who is helping you follow this group. And you find a village that they went through. And the village is massacred. It has been burned down. There is horrific violence. And you encounter these bandits on the tail end of this horrible act of violence. And you can tell because you've seen it before, these bandits have gotten their hands on Demon Way techniques. They are bleeding from the eyes, but the blood catches fire. So there are these flaming streaks running down their faces. Their eyes have flickering sparks in them. And they're channeling this fire into their weapons and just like cackling as they ravage this place. How does
You're
Sho...
right. I would think about going in there neutral, and this would definitely change it.
So how would Sho respond to this?
Like I said, I'd definitely go in there thinking I would only want to knock them out, only let other people make those decisions. But when I see them in the midst of all the carnage they've caused, something kind of flips in my mind, and I go into a bit of a rage, just like Bartoon. Like here I am struggling with these questions of morality and what right and wrong and death versus life, and these people are so casually taking lives themselves, and I would probably join Bartoon in a bit of a rampage.
Barack.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Uh,
Bartoon's my other guy.
So I think as this anger sweeps over you, there is a bristling, and it's almost like there are thorns that are starting to sort of poke through at some points on you. Only in this moment of rage, and they sort of drop off after. But you all easily clear out the bandits. The power that they had was enough to help them to kill bandits, but not good for much else. Or sorry, to kill villagers, but not good for much else. And Barack even tells you afterwards. He says they weren't going to survive this anyway. They were burning themselves alive to do this. So you receive your reward for being part of this mission. A letter arrives, and you're sent down. And your next task is going to be guarding a monk, not a martial arts monk, a monk, a religious monk, who has been targeted for assassination for political reasons. So you're sort of assigned off to this monastery well down the road. We're going to come back to that in a second. Who would like to do? Who would like to do some next?
I'll be back. I got it. I'm gonna get food.
All right.
I'll go then.
All right. So, Snicked, we rewind. You're standing outside the gate in the 10-year city. You have received your reward. Lots of people are cheering. You do hear sort of sobs and anger. You know that tonight a large percentage of the gold that was given as prize money will flow to the merchants here, especially the brewers and purveyors of food. And you can see the excitement on the vendors in the back. But yeah, your attention is drawn by this blonde-haired young man who is ordering these soldiers to sort of place themselves at exits of the town. This sort of camp city. What are you going to do?
Well, all things considered, I think I'm going to slip out of town before they have a chance to cover all the exits.
All right. Give me a... I'm going to say it's a stealth check, but with advantage, because you are familiar with events like this, and you know like little ways in and out from for the vendors and how to sort of blend in.
With advantage, it's a 19.
All right. Yeah, you are able to sneak away, and you are a little ways outside the city. You've sort of escaped this dragnet. What are you going to do now?
Well, as I said in the message I sent to you, Snicked has operated under the guiding principle of consequences are for other people. But had like what 3 near-death experiences in there.
Yep.
So that combined with totally not watching what happened with Sho and that family. I'll hang out on the side of the road and wait for that family, and I'm just gonna pick up their caravan and follow them for a while. Learn some defensive techniques, maybe. And offer them some candied crickets.
So you find that this family, there's probably less than a dozen of them, but they join up with others fairly soon after the event ends. They are not part of the revelers who stay and are going to like, you know, from history, at events like this, the party's going to go on for weeks.
Yes.
But some folks have already joined up to head back. And it takes a little bit. You're traveling with this group for a little while, but they are surprisingly invested in your crickets in a way that surprises you almost. So your hiccup here is the two kids. How are you addressing that? Because they have seen you. They know who you are.
I mean, I'm not going to hide myself from them. But I also, I feel like Snicked is just not going to talk about it with them. Going to offer them candy.
It takes a while, but all you really did was sort of scare them. And really, you mostly just scared them by being weird, more so than like actually aggressive. After you travel for a day or two, give me a perception check with disadvantage.
Oh, lost an 18.
You are walking along, and let's see, all of you got the discernment technique, right?
Yes.
Would Snicked be trying to learn that in a speedy fashion?
Yeah, I think and in the evenings when we stop, and then in the mornings before we take off again.
So it doesn't take a whole lot, less than a week, and you'd be on the road for quite a while. So you get this technique learned, and you're walking down the road. The kids are kind of running back and forth. There's other groups sort of walking with you, all kind of having their own conversations. There's some wagons rolling very slowly, pulled by like mules. And for just a moment, you are absolutely sure that there is a dragon behind you.
I freak out and spin around.
It doesn't even get that far. Like, you feel this presence, and when I say that you feel like there is, I don't mean generically. I mean specifically. You feel the weighted pressure of a dragon that provokes a sort of frozen prey response for just like half a second. And then there's a giant taloned hand on your shoulder. And then you realize you're being ridiculous. There's a small humanoid hand on your shoulder, and it's attached to the old man who seems to be the elder of this family. And he sort of lets out a gentle, sort of soft cackle at your like hair stand up twitch reflex.
You have quite the presence, sir.
I got you good, didn't I?
Uh-huh.
Small pleasures. So, I hear you're a weird little fella.
I think I'm perfectly normal. I think everybody else is being weird.
I guess that's what we all think. Well, you catch, he starts to say descendants, and instead he like catches himself and says grandkids instead. My grandkids over there, They say that that you helped them, that you picked a pretty big fight to save their lives.
Yeah, I guess we kind of did, didn't we?
Picking a fight with one of the 12 families, and that's all he has to say about it. Well,
I mean, he was being a jerk. What else was I gonna do?
with an attitude like that, you'll, well, honestly, you'll probably die before you turn 30. But if you don't, you might be one of the top 10 in this world. We'll see which comes first.
30 would make me old for a kobold.
I suppose so. Well, you are strange and you are little, but it can't be said that my family did not appropriately reward one of its benefactors. So, what brings you down this road following with my family?
Well, Snick kind of awkwardly scratches one of the horns on the back of his head. One road's as good as any, right? And yeah. Well, after all of that, I'm not quite ready to go home just yet.
Bit of a wanderer. Something familiar about that. Well, you are welcome to travel with us. You are welcome to stay as long as you need with our family. And who knows, maybe you'll learn a thing or two along the way.
Could you teach me that trick that you did to me?
He laughs and says, I might be able to teach you something like that. And he is going. Yeah, that's perfect. He starts to train you. Just a little bit each day. And the training sucks. It's not like he leads you off to the side and spends time and you all do moves and da da da. His training seems to consist of sneaking up behind you a couple of times a day and scaring the crap out of you exactly the same way.
Typical.
After a while, though, you realize that you're starting to notice that he's there just a second before that sense of pressure pushes down on you. And as days turn to weeks and start to slip into months, and you all get closer to arriving at their home, you realize you're able to notice when other people are nearby, even if you can't see them. And what would be something that Snicked would go off by himself for?
I think shortly after I finish learning the water walking technique, I step aside from the caravan when we're near a lake or a river just to run back and forth across the water for a while.
So I think that your exuberant running display, and I can't help but think of the Jesus lizards,
Right.
draws some attention, and just a couple of sort of burly-looking figures come up, and as you sort of get off the water, they look at you and say, "So, guy like you, with fancy tricks like that, you must have stuff to share with your friends, right?"
Define friend.
"Oh, we're feeling very friendly today. Say, uh, friendly enough to maybe just walk away if you hand us something good."
Are you trying to rob me?
No, 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 no. That's such an ugly word. Such an ugly word. This is friends helping friends.
And I think at this point, just feeling confident after having run back and forth across the water for a while, I decide to go into the dragon form and just let out a roar at them.
I think this is maybe the first time you've roared, maybe since you got out. And you realize that your roar has changed. When your roar rings out, it is not. Your roar has never quite sounded like a kobold, but it's never quite measured up to what others might imagine a dragon to sound like. When you roar this time, there is that low rumble, that high brassy screech, and for just a second, that pressure that you have felt day in and day out comes crashing out of you, and there's almost like a visible, like downward ripple, like running down these guys' figures, and they just sort of go rigid and just like fall over, frightened into a state of like paralysis.
I give them a gentle poke and then walk away.
When you get back, the old man says, "Nicely done." So, oh, go ahead.
Thanks.
He smirks and says, "So, where does the little blue dragon head next?"
It's a good question, I guess. Wherever the waters take me.
All right. So the old man gives you an emblem. Well, not quite an emblem. He gives you a token. And you're not quite exactly sure what the name on it is, but you see marks for something about metal and blades and snakes and dragons, all sort of tangled up in one character. And he says, if you were to need something more substantial in the future, and one of my family should be able to help, show them this.
Thank you, grandfather.
Grandfather.
The wrong
You
thing.
should have said thanks, Zaddy.
And he smites you and you die. So you make your parting, and we'll come back for the next leg of Snick's journey next. Who wants to go next?
Well, I'm kind of seeing how I get out of this first. I'm really curious.
All right, so we will jump in with Ty then. So Ty, so most of these things are stored away in your ring, so they're not impossible to hide. But what are you going to do? All these guards are sort of fanning out.
I'm going to do what I do best. I'm going to see a large group of people exiting, and I'm going to just join them. I'm going to exit with a crowd.
All right, give me a stealth check with advantage.
Oh, this should be good. I hope. Yeah, 21.
I clicked on the wrong thing and my screen exploded.
Ah,
Yeah, with a 21, you are able to sort of sneak away, and escape this sort of net. And what do you want to do after that?
so, now that, I've watched show and the realization that we legit killed a lot of people. Like, I contemplate, am I a good guy or am I a bad guy? Because, like, during the games, I was not afraid to just, let's kill them. I mean, I've died. So why can't I kill them? I think I've died. Get all these weird memories from the future. But, sometimes I like to make amends. So so I'll go to the series like Family House. I'll drop off the robes that I kind of nabbed from the kid because I kind of want them around, but I don't want to like let them just go to waste. I kind of just drop them off like outside the house without anyone noticing me late at night and just walk away from that. Just make up for the bad deeds that happened during the game.
Do you
Correct
also
the
leave
wrongs.
the emblem that you got from him?
Oh yeah, I dropped the emblem.
All right. I'm clearing those from your inventory. All right,
As much as I want the emblem.
so you have dropped
and
those
then-
off.
And then, for the first half, I go back home. I just walk back home because I like to walk. I'm a walker. Enjoy nature and the rivers. And I meet up with my master, where I train with him for like 5 years. And then for the last, all right, because I kind of got much else to do. He's kind of family. I'm not, we're not connected to the world a big time. But then it's the eating at me, the curiosity of the one scroll is like where I spend the key to like give people a hit dice. So I had the feeling of the power from it. But I'm gonna go looking for the other pieces. So I'm gonna go like on a search. I'm gonna just wander the world looking for the other parts. Yeah. It's like I have like two goals. One is to find the other pieces to the scroll, or whoever. And the other two is just to explore the world and see other people. actually, be active in the world since I've been kind of, with my master, and that's about it for my first bit of life. And now that I'm, older, I kind of want to go out and explore the world for my next bit of life.
So, a question that I think would hang over all of this: you have a crap ton of high, high quality Demon Way materials. You have like all of the equipment of. I would say that did Ty try to immediately find out who it was that you all fought with?
Oh, the guy behind the mask?
Yeah.
That would be on the later half of travel. So I came back, I trained for the 5 years to get, better. And then on the second half of the 5 years, it's one of the goals. I have 3 goals: explore the world, find more pieces of the key hit dice, and figure out the demon garb. Because I'm low key, like, now that I'm away from the master, kind of want to touch it a little bit.
So, one of the first things you discover is that the one of the largest Demon Way cults, the Heavenly Demon Way, has been on a rampage for 2 years. And they have been just shredding huge swaths of countryside. They've been killing young martial artists, young warriors, young magic users, all across the realm. And they specifically seem to have been targeting people who participated in the Day of 10,000 Fists. And what you learn is the dominant story is that this started because one of the young princes of the Heavenly Demon cult was killed during the event. One of the direct descendants of one of the most powerful martial and spiritual warriors in this entire empire.
And he died to a goldfish.
It was a big goldfish.
You bit big.
So, what do you do with that information? What do you do with this stuff?
Well, he died fighting to escape, like the rest of us. But I do not condone just destroying everything. Honestly, I low-key want to find like a group of adventurers to pick on the demon cult. Be the thorn in their side as well. Like, they're a thorn in everyone's side for waging war on lands, and I want to be a thorn on their side. Like, we'll be smart. We'll plan our ambushes and not take out like target like the tough guys, but the minions just
So,
butcher them.
you're easily able to find a group like this. This is a fairly common, for good or bad. This is a fairly common way that young warriors of sort of the established organizations can really sort of ratchet up their personal ranking, is by going after the one of the demon cults. So you're easily able to find a group of sort of similarly skilled individuals. It's a smattering of like styles and orders you've heard of and some you haven't. There is a formation master, or an aspiring formation master, a sort of magic user who uses like the flow of natural energy channeled through like tools and special alignments to create effects. There's a sort of big, bulky warrior type, heavy armor, great sword, a Zen archer, who you're very confused about because she says that she is an archer of this school, and she didn't carry a bow. And then the first time you all fought together, you saw her just sort of pull back at nothing, and a bow of energy formed in her hands. So you match up with this eclectic group. What are you doing with all this demonic gear in your ring? Are you just hiding it? Are you studying it?
Oh, I am studying the shit out of this stuff. I want to know what makes it ticks. I kind of want to know. It really has like a weakness, and I always have like the thought in the back of the mind to to try it a little bit, like try it once.
So are you going to fully learn the Fire of the Black Flame Prince?
Yeah.
All right. I will
I'm gonna
mark
learn
it
this
in
thing.
as
It's
master.
like it's kind of my my last ditch Hail Mary, take everything with me type deal. I'm going down big.
So in your studying, you do realize that when people learn demonic techniques, it changes their aura in a way that people can recognize. But you also discover that this cloak of the Black Flame Prince that you found can hide that aura from other people. Are you going to equip it as you learn this?
How recognizable is the cloak?
It just looks like a nice black cloak. It would take like specialist knowledge to recognize it, and or using one of the other items that you have.
I'd probably equip the cloak if just to hide my aura, because a couple things. One, I don't want to get like don't be assumed I'm a demon cultist just because I kind of have an aura, because I kind of decided to dabble in shit because I got it.
Don't
Like,
judge me by my actions.
I found it and I got curious, and then I studied it, and now I changed my aura. Now I gotta hide my aura because I'm stupid and studied things I shouldn't have. It's a weird. It's a loop.
I should also mention, just because we didn't go over them, and I should have. So you got 4 items, and these are top-notch Demon Way items. You have the Ebony and Bone emblem. This is the equivalent of a high-ranking emblem, but it's only for the demon cult. So you can use it to like scare normal people, but you can't really use it to like if you show it in a city, you're going to get killed. But when you examine it, you do realize that if you activate it, it is powerful enough to compel members of the Demon Way, like without fail. It seems to be something about how these abilities work, and this seems to be sort of like a command key or something that lets you push the lower ranked ones around. You also got the Fire of the Black Flame Prince. This is what the Blackfire guy was using. You can burn hit points to deal extra necrotic damage. That's the technique you learned. You also got a persona mask. When you wear one of these masks, you appear to be a different person. No matter how you change the rest of your attire, people just will not look at you and think that is Ty. They will associate you with the identity that is attached to the mask, which is a figure called the King of Night's Flame. And then, of course, the cloak, which is also a +1 AC and saving throws.
Oh, nice.
All right, so you have all these items. You're attacking the demon cult. What else are you doing?
Trying to find what was the one scroll? You know, the hit points and key.
Reversion.
What was it called?
Reversion.
Reversion. Okay.
And you actually, there is something profoundly familiar about this scroll. You get the feeling that as you learn this technique, it takes you less time than it's supposed to. You would even say it almost seems like this technique, it's almost like you knew it before and you had just forgotten. But you also know that it's not finished. I'm marking one of them as mastered. So how long do you spend harassing the demon cult?
So, if let's say I studied with my professor or master for 5 years, and then when did they start, going on their little rampage?
So it was only about 2 or 3 years after the Day of 10,000 Fists.
But I think what happens is after the news reached me after the 5 years, once I went out venturing on my own, and once I discovered the atrocities that the demon cult has done, that's when I started just hunting them and joined my little party.
All right. Just for fun, let's see how well you did. I'm going to have you roll some challenge rolls here. And we're going to sort of measure these just to see how well you did. So first, give me a stealth check. This is to see generally how stealthy and sneaky you were in sort of ambushing these people. And if you do anything to if you want to have a strategy to make that better, let me know, and you might be able to roll with advantage or with a bonus.
Let's see. So for being stealthy, it's mostly we wait for when they go on. We follow their movements. Like we're hiding deep in the woods. We wait for them to right before they attack a town. We come up behind them and just absolutely go to town on them from behind. Like they're focused on their objective, and then we kind of hit them right before they can strike on their objective. Let them get their eyes narrowed, their tunnel vision on what they needed, what they're going to do, and then we come in when they're not really paying attention for us.
So here's what I'm going to say then. I'm going to have you roll the stealth check flat, but if you succeed on it, you're going to roll your attack roll with advantage. So go ahead and give me that stealth check.
I'm trying. It just says tabletop, virtual tabletop not found.
Oh, it's still sending. It's in the game log. Got...
I got 14. I rolled it twice. I got 14. It's the first one I remember.
So you did pretty good. Let's see how they do.
I've done a custom roll.
Oh, that was me rolling on your page. Your first...
better.
So... you managed to sneak up on them, but not as well as you had hoped. You don't catch them sort of fully off guard. Give me a dexterity saving throw.
Wow.
Youch. Your first few attacks go well. And I think that's the problem. You all maybe start to get a little cocky. Does Ty join in on that or try and pull the others back?
I've seen what they can do. I've seen what the prince can do. I definitely try to pull them back, saying they are stronger than you think. I watched them take out all the tree people. I've in the games. my master. I remember the time when they about whooped up my master. So and then my past memory. I'm pretty sure I died to a demon cult. So yeah,
you try and sort of bring them back to Earth, but it's only kind of successful. They start to fight a little bit like they're invincible, and there's one particular fight that goes wrong, and you have a moment of deja vu, and you realize something awful is going to happen, and it's right before the fight begins. But in the moment where you could tell someone, your archer jumps the gun and just sort of like laughs imperiously as she just drops like a flurry of blows with 4 arrows and drops 4 low-level guards. But as soon as she does that, you hear sort of like rustling behind you, and you realize that they have caught on. As you go to get out of the way, there is a whip crack sound, and something lashes across your back, and you feel your back burn. It doesn't manage to like cut your cloak, but it's almost like the impact of it slices and manages to cut underneath. Behind you, you see what you recognize as like a upper middle rank member of the demon cult. They have this lashing whip, and there is a purple flame running along it. And you've come to recognize purple flame is this sort of like middle tier. Red flame is sort of foot soldiers and grunts. Black flame you have only heard of other than the one you fought, and seems to be reserved for elites. And there is a radiant flame that only the heavenly demon uses. So this person is pretty powerful. What do you do about it?
Clearly it's time to try and confuse him for a second and throw on the persona mask of King of Knights Flame. Clearly it's a do or die situation now.
So I think it takes a second to get there. This fight happens quick. So your companion fires these arrows, and almost immediately she is cut down as like a double handful of flame-touched daggers. Just and she just falls over. Your magic user is trying to suddenly adjust the formation that he laid out that would have like confused a bunch of them and trapped them, but he can't do it in time, and he gets cut down. There's only 3 of you left now. The warrior is fighting off a bunch of enemies by themselves, and there's a spear user who sort of has their back and they're fighting, but they are losing pretty badly. These red-flamed warriors are basically sacrificing themselves, just piling these red-burning bodies on these young warriors. So you are easily able to grab this mask and there's a moment of confusion, a pause as this person with this purple fire whip looks at you strangely. Do you use the black fire?
Yes.
Something happens when you tap into this fire. And I'll let you decide. Have you ever used the fire and worn the mask and the cloak at the same time before this moment?
I have not.
So something resonates between the technique and the mask and the cloak. And the cloak becomes rolling black fire. And black fire shoots up from the edges of this mask that goes across your face. And this person with this purple flame lash goes pale. And is like looking around in confusion, and then falls to her knees. And she screams something like, all hail the King of Night's Flame, all hail the scion of the heavenly demon. And all of the fighters around her do the same. They echo it and fall down. And the fighting is continuing out a little ways. And you can see the warrior is looking in your direction with confusion as there is a rapidly expanding circle of kneeling demon cult members at your feet. We're going to put a pin in you there.
Oh,
I want to do one more because continuing our theme, this all takes longer than we think it would. So Harry and Aaron fight it out. Who's next?
There's our answer.
All right. Lilifear, you're next.
All right, then. Oh, he's back. You're muted. You're both muted.
How did I disconnect? I don't know. I don't care.
All right, just do a roll off real quick. High roll goes next.
That's the D20.
Yep.
Oh, where's Debbie?
Whew, that was a close one. The silence, you are next.
right.
So you don't have any of this like incriminating material on your person. You have not killed any nobles. So we'll pick up with you right after you exit the portal. You've got all your loot. What's on the agenda for the silence?
For the silence, I feared the first thing we did was at the festival was me and Slick went and got food at one of the food vendors real quick before we split ways. Think you agree that he got food there?
There's a whole nother like round of like fresh, delicious food coming off of all of the like food carts and stuff to take advantage of everyone suddenly being flush with all this cash.
And then I go back. I followed like the other silent people. All right, and we make our way back to the Grandmasters. And with all the combat, we decided to take about a week or two off of things. Still being silent and all, but just not as meditating as hard.
All right.
And then in the silent sides, we go find the giant crystal in all his visions when he was down, and go meditate and figure out its secrets to sharpen his mind.
That'll be perfect. So you make your way back with these companions, and there is maybe something comforting about being sort of once again enmeshed in this warm, sort of telepathic community. Even if you can't respond in it, you've kind of gotten used to just this background sound happening, this non-sound. So you all make your way back. They are there's a few times where they have to sort of press through, and they ward off bandits and rude guards and manage to easily navigate you all back. The Razor Mind is far to the north, in the region called the North Mount. A line of sort of disconnected mountains has been sort of constructed together into a massive man-made barrier. And it guards sort of the northern end of the realm from nations that press in from the north. The Razor Mind sect's temple backs up to one of these huge mountains, and as you walk in, others would hear it as this perfect silence, but you feel sort of reconnected as you can now hear this sort of gentle whispering of all these voices speaking silently. And it is communicated to you that it is time for you to begin the process of bonding with what's called a psi crystal. And because of your success, you are being allowed into the deepest chamber of the mountain. Other disciples sometimes get sent to, especially ones who, to be honest, don't have a lot of potential or have not been doing well. They sometimes get sent to the outskirts where the psionic crystal is not as rich or powerful. You're allowed to go down to what's called the heart crystal. And it looks exactly like the vision you had. You see the sort of semicircle of water lit from within by purple crystals, shards extending from the ceiling, and in the center, that giant pillar of purple crystal, and the figure inside meditating silently forever. Or at least in history up to this point. There is a strangeness. The humanoid telepathic voices kind of wash away down here. There's almost like a gentle resonance from all of these psionically active crystals at once. It's almost like these purple shards are singing to each other. So how does the Silence prepare himself for this meditation?
Oh. He drinks his water, and that's about it. He's a monk, so they walk down there knowing he won't be out for a long time.
Yeah, so you've seen this happen with other Razormind disciples. They've descended down into the depths, and you know that some are only gone for a few days, some are gone for weeks. There's been a rare few cases where someone doesn't emerge, maybe for a whole month or two. So you're given a sort of special nutritional supplement. You drink a special water that's drawn from that semicircular pool. And you settle down to meditate almost within arm's reach of this crystal. And you are immersed into this world of psionic energy. Go ahead and give me... We're going to call this... roll it like a Razor Mind attack. Nice. A 23. You are pulled into this vision again. And you see this harrowing battle between this gray skinned, almost sort of this gray skinned, glistening, wiry figure with the long tendrils and the gray psychic flames. And you see this battle between this gray figure and this purple crystalline entity that's inside the pillar behind you. And you watch their mental battle. And then it's almost like the whole scene shifts. And like you're looking through a different facet now. And you're seeing other scenes. You see something your brain almost can't comprehend. It's the night sky, but it's in every direction. Everything is distant, but there's a cold beauty to it. And this purple crystalline figure is standing on this ship that seems to be sailing out among the stars. And there's a sail, but it's not canvas, it's a frame dotted with purple crystal, and some kind of unseen force blows into it, and it lights with purple energy and drives the ship forward. And you see these scenes of these impossible places and these impossible things. And you see this figure using the same techniques that you've been taught, but using them in a way you've never seen before. There is a true mastery to the way that they fight and the way that they wield their mind. It's almost like the division between mind and body doesn't exist for them. And it keeps turning and fracturing as you see more and more scenes. And they don't stop. It's like they loop. And each one keeps happening. And you feel your mind sort of expanding and filling this space. And then finally there is this crackling sound. And then a perfect bell note. And you become aware of a presence. And it feels like something that is almost like someone is standing right behind you. And you hear, "Hi."
Hello.
Where are we?
I don't know.
I know you. Does the Silence have a name before they were known as the Silence?
No. No one actually ever told him his name.
You feel this presence, and it's almost like a flitting bird that seems to be sort of whizzing around your head. And it says, "I don't think I have a name either. You can call me the Sound." And you open your eyes, and there is a shard of crystal about this big floating in front of your face. And there is this beautiful, gentle purple energy radiating off of it. And you feel exhausted suddenly. Like the most tired and hungry and just hollowed out you've ever felt. And you can just barely turn your head and see that this crystal that's now in front of you and is still sort of happily talking would fit neatly in this new empty spot, this crack in the pillar behind you. Very, very close to where this figure is meditating. And you hear a psychic, bell sort of ring out. And disciples come rushing down, and they sort of run over to you, and you realize like you can't barely move. And you can kind of look down and see you are like emaciated. And it's only after several days of rest and food and the continual chatter of the sound that you realize that you have been meditating for 2 years. And I think that's where we're going to have to call it for tonight. We got all you about halfway through. We will come back and wrap up our interlude, our 10-year journeys for each of these characters next week, and hopefully get you all back up to the portal 10 years later. So
it's fantastic.
Each of you sort of think on how you want to conclude your 10-year span. We got to do Lilithir next time too. We'll do a double dose of Lilithir, and we'll get you all to your next day of 10,000 fists.
Fantastic.
Awesome.
All right, I am going to kill the stream. Bye, internet.
Bye.